Overall, Brian, I went the old-fashioned way here, and I literally assigned GPA points to each based on the grade that I gave, divided it by 5, and got a GPA for my overall. I can't, you can take the coach out of the classroom, but it is what it is. So mine ended up as a 3.13, which is between a B and a B plus. And I think that's about right. I would probably hedge my bet and go towards a B. But I have a solid, hey man, solid 3.0 GPA, solid B for this group. Obviously, safety brings that group down, and defensive tackle brings that group down a little bit for me. But it's a solid B for me, and I feel very comfortable with that.
I'm going to go B plus. I'm going to round up because, as I've said, I take context into consideration. And to me, I think Notre Dame hit it big at the positions that are most important to hit it big. And so there's some bonus points involved in this for me.
Oh, you're giving extra credit. You're one of those.
Hey, when you put in the work, I'm not one of those people. If your grade equals A plus, I'm going to give you an A plus. I'm just saying it's called common sense, But I look at it and I say, look, there's a couple reasons why I go B plus. Number one, I'm factoring in the upside grades of so many of these players into this. Okay, number one. Number two, I think for Marcus Freeman's defense to be effective, you need great edge players, you need great athleticism at linebacker, and you need corners. And they hit it big at all those. The fact is that the one position they came up short, they did so well at corner that there's some guys they can move to safety if they needed to. If we took Philip Riley away from corner and moved him to safety, it doesn't really impact the corner grade a ton. It impacts the safety grade a ton. And that's the way I look at it and say they signed 9 DBs the last 2 years, right? I mean, so if you look at the secondary as a whole, the grade's a lot better than it is with the C plus or the C that when you look just at the safeties. Because the reason I make that point is that we don't grade it that way. But if we did, because there are guys at corner that could move to safety and project to be multi-year starters there, then I think you have to look at it and say they're going to be able to put together a really good secondary some way, somehow, because of this group. Okay. And so, but when you look at how good the edge players are and the linebackers are, those are going to be good enough to overcome maybe the one position where you fell short. And they got impact players in the front seven. And if you look at every team that's won a college football championship, I mean, really going back to for even before the playoff, they all have impact players in the front seven, difference makers in the front seven. And maybe you could argue LSU's the exception, but if you go look at LSU front seven, they had some pretty darn good players.
I was gonna say, they were okay there.
Yeah, they did it pretty well.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's just what you need. And they met the numbers needs. They met the athleticism needs. They met the length needs of the front seven. It was such a good group, and the cornerback group was so good that I think it rings what do we always say, Vince? A great front four is better in a good back seven or good back secondary is better than having a great secondary and just a good front four.
Sure.
Well, that's what we have here.
Yeah,
we
you're
have
right.
a potential for a great front seven, and you've got corners that can flat out cover. That's what's important in this defense. We saw that the last 5-6 games of this season. Notre Dame didn't have impact safeties, but their corners played really well, and the front played great. And guess what? Didn't matter if they didn't have great safety play. The safeties still did their job and were just good, solid football players because it was just be in position and don't get beat. And teams didn't have enough time to attack the safeties and take advantage of the safety play because of the front, because of the linebackers, because of the edge players, because of the interior players. And that's how I look at it. So that's why, to me, it's a B plus. It's a borderline B plus, but I'm going B plus because it's not quite like, okay, surefire, you're going to be great because of the safety position and because of the couple positions like corner and D tackle where it's like, yeah, there's some great players there, but maybe, corner, you like a little bit more of a surefire thing. Maybe a D tackle, you like one more player. But I think overall, this is a borderline borderline elite group, in my opinion. And if I were to, I mean, as I think about it, and I think about what the class is and all that stuff, if I were to err on the side of changing it from a B plus, I'd probably err on the side of A minus than I would B.
Ooh.
Just because of how good I think the front seven is and how important a great front seven is. And because, again, I love the corner class. I mean, B plus at D end, A at linebacker, A minus at corner. Those are the three most important positions that you have to be good at. You have to play well at safety to be great in college football today. You can't have safeties that don't play well. You don't need elite players at safety. You need great players at corner. You need guys who can play a corner. You can't protect a corner that can't cover.
Sure.
You can't.
And that was always the knock on Notre Dame in the past,
right.
was the corners and edge players, right? Like,
right.
they can never get those guys, you know, and they're proving people wrong left and right.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
no question. And Mike Mickens has inherited a dumpster fire at cornerback, and he has quickly just restocked that depth chart in really, really impressive fashion.
And that's a good point that you make right there. And if I was going to be convinced to raise my grade, it would be if I was going to add a coaching category to this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because again, you give me Mike Elston, you give me Coach Mickens, you give me Freeman as the head coach, you give me, you know, Nick Lazinski potentially as a linebacker coach, whatever, right? I have all the faith in the world of the defensive coaches. And I think that if I added that part into the grade, all of a sudden my grade goes up because I think they coach these guys up and I think they put them in a position to be successful. And could this group turn into and be a part of a championship defense? Absolutely. When I'm adding in that coaching aspect of it, because you can give this group of guys to some crappy coaches and that's not a championship level team.
Right.
But if you give this group to the coaches that Notre Dame has, it's a championship level team. So,
which is why the upside carries more weight than it would in other instances.
And that's a really good point.
Right.
So yeah, I can be swayed on that regard.
No, well, I'm not going to try and sway you. I mean,
not you specifically. I'm saying in general. But yeah, exactly.
It's like if Coach Freeman gets on the phone with Vince, I don't like that B crap, man. Here's why you're wrong.
Yes, sir.
You could be swayed. Okay.
Yes.
I would hope you'd be a little bit more.
No. Yeah.
Firm in your foundation than that.
I'd be like, Coach, let's chat about some stuff.
Yeah.
All right. I've got some opinions.
Yeah.